Hello, my name's Melissa and welcome to this Eagle Flow. Today we're going to be working up towards a posture called Eagle Pose. It is one of my favourite postures and this is one of my favourite practices to teach. We really start to get into strengthening and stretching the shoulders, but also strengthening and stretching the hips, connecting into core, finding a little bit of balance. So it's okay if you have a few wobbles or maybe fall out of a pose. Just remember that showing up to the yoga practice is the most important part. Let's get started. So we're going to get started in a child's pose. So come down onto your mat and just start to separate the knees slightly apart, take your toes to touch and start to send the hips down towards the heels, extending the arms all the way out in front of you. And placing your forehead down onto the earth. And just noticing the points of contact that your body is making with the ground. Maybe you do yourself a full body scan, just noticing if there's any areas of tension or tightness, maybe in the hips or the shoulders. And just start to breathe into those areas. So finding the full inhales through the nose and the full exhales out through the nose. And the breath can start quite small and eventually it grows into this big oceanic sounding breath, this ujjayi breathing that is really going to support us throughout our yoga practice today. And by now you should really be able to hear the sound of your own breath. And as you inhale through the nose, just invite in an energizing inhale. But as you exhale, just feel the rooting down into the ground, so feel the support from the earth. And take 2 more breaths. Inhale through the nose, expanding right and left side body. And exhale, release. And taking 1 last inhale. And exhale. And slowly start to energize through the fingers. Lift the elbows off the ground. Inhale, slight gaze forward in between the hands. We'll reach our right arm up to the sky and we'll start with a simple twist. Inhale, reach the right arm up towards the sky. Exhale, threading the right arm underneath the left, taking the right shoulder down onto the earth, maybe the right temple, extending left arm out in front of you, or taking that left arm all the way directly up to the sky. You might stay here, or taking that left arm all the way back behind you, coming into a bind, a half bind. It's taking hold of the right inner thigh. Inhale, lengthen, creating space. Exhale, finding that twist, that hugging into center line, the expansion of the ribs. And taking 1 last breath. Slowly, when you're ready, just releasing the pose, extending that left arm out, extending right arm out back into that soft child's pose. When you're ready, energizing through the arms, inhale, start to reach that left arm up to the sky. Exhale, threading the left arm underneath the right. Left shoulder, left temple plants down, maybe extending the arm out in front of you, reaching that right arm up to the sky or going back behind you, taking a bind. And just listen to your body. Just finding that openness in the shoulders, the chest. It's like hugging in of the ribs. Take 1 last breath. the bottom of your exhale, slowly releasing, extending the right arm out, extending the left arm out back into that child's pose, and we'll slowly roll up to a tabletop position, knees directly underneath the hips. Rolling those shoulders away from the ears, pressing firmly through the hands, especially the index finger and the thumb. When you're ready, we'll go for a few rounds of cat and cow. So inhale, start to drop through the belly, lifting upwards through the heart. Heart is moving forward, slight gaze towards the top of the mat. Exhale, rounding into the spine. Inhale, lift the chest, finding that space. Exhale, finding that contraction into center, really curling that tailbone under, knitting the ribs in. Inhale, expanding into the chest. And exhale, rounding. And 2 more rounds with your own breath. So inhale. And exhale. And last round, inhale. And exhale. And slowly coming back to that neutral spine position, we'll tuck the toes under, start to send the hips all the way up and back into your first downward facing dog. So you've got a leg's length distance between the wrist crease all the way through to the heels. The crown of the head is dropping down towards the earth. The shoulders are rolling away from those ears up into the shoulder blades. So imagine here that the right elbow is moving towards the left knee, the left elbow is moving towards the right knee. The hips are the highest point of the pose, and we're finding length and space into the back of the legs. If you need to have a slight bend into those knees to find that elongation into the spine, please do. And feel free to pedal out through the feet or stay completely stationary. And starting to settle in. Slowly take one last inhale through the nose. One last exhale, finding that stillness. And then from this downward facing dog, we're going to shorten our downward facing dog. So maybe walking the feet slightly closer towards the hands. And then take the feet as wide as the mat. Hips lifting high to the sky. Come onto the right fingertips and thread the right arm either underneath the left arm, and you can keep the hand down onto the floor, or taking hold of the outer calf or the left ankle. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, start to twist, gazing underneath the left arm. Keep wrapping that left shoulder down towards the earth. Keep pressing the floor away. Keep twisting, take one last breath. Hips are even in space. Slowly releasing, extending that right fingertips back down to the floor, back to this wider version of this downward facing dog. From here, left fingertips thread underneath the right arm. Maybe staying here or taking hold of the calf or the ankle. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Gazing up underneath the right armpit. Breathe. Finding that twist. Slowly, when you're ready, releasing, coming back to center, back to that original downward facing dog. So step the feet back. Look forward in between the hands, and we'll step the feet to the front of the mat. And take your feet hips width distance apart. Inhale, lengthen into the spine, hands come onto the shins or onto the ground. Exhale, folding forward, releasing the head, maybe swaying the hips from side to side, any movement that you need in this pose. 2 more just like that. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding inwards. Last round, inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding inwards. From here, interlace the fingers around the back of the head. And then start to extend the arms all the way up and overhead. So interlacing the fingers back behind you, reaching the arms all the way up and over. And we're shifting the weight into the balls of the feet. And if you're like me, you have a slight hyperextension into the elbow, slight bend there, so you can really start to get into the shoulders. Then stay folding forward, but just switch the grip of the hand so the other thumb comes on top. And take one last breath. You might even shake the head yes, shake the head no. And slowly just release the arms down to the earth. Bending into the knees, we'll roll up slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae. Stacking through the spine, head is the last thing to come up, and the shoulders just roll away from the ears. And take your toes to touch heel slightly apart. We'll stand at the front of the mat in Tadasana. Hands meet through heart center, connecting the feet to the earth and finding the lift of the inner arches of the feet, engaging into the inner thighs. And whenever you're ready and when you found that breath, just set a personal intention for your practice today. So how do you wish to feel as you flow? And that might be something simple, focusing on the breath. It might be keeping a playful spirit as you move. It might be directing some positive energy to someone in your life that you think really needs it right now. Some of the benefits of your yoga practice. And slowly take a last inhale through the nose, just seal your intention. Exhale, just let it out and manifest into the world. Opening through the eyes. And we'll go for a few rounds of sun salutation A. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up and out to the side. Gazing up, palms touch. Exhale, palms float through heart center, hinging from the hips, melting the chest down, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen into the spine, create space. Exhale, planting the hands down, stepping both feet back, high plank. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Feel free to drop the knees and lower all the way down. Squeeze the elbows in. Inhale, lift the chest, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, press the floor away, tuck the toes under and send the hips all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths in this downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. And 2 more breaths, just finding the inhales, the exhales. Breathing space into the ribs. Exhale, finding that elongation in the back of the legs. Look forward in between the hands. We'll step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding forward. Bending into the knees, root down to rise all the way up. Sweep the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, hands back through heart center. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, folding over the legs, finding that energy. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, planting the hands down, stepping back high, plank or hopping. Exhale, lowering, squeezing the elbows in, chaturanga. Inhale, rolling over those toes, lifting the chest, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths, inhale. Exhale, 1. Inhale, relaxing the back of the neck. Exhale. Last breath, inhale. And exhale, look forward in between the hands. We'll step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthening into the spine. Exhale, folding inwards, bending the knees. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, Samasthiti, meeting back at the front of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms up, last round. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, planting the hands, stepping or hopping back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, lift in the chest. Exhale, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Taking your time, going through your own version of your downward facing dog with your own breath. And just finding the softness in this downward facing dog. And take 1 last breath. Look forward in between the hands. We'll step or hop to the front of the mat. Maybe find a little hover. And then lower. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, folding. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands back through heart center. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Recentering. Bending into the knees. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Chair pose, Utkatasana. And hold for a moment, taking a few breaths. Connecting into your center, connecting into your core. Shift the weight back into the heels. Lift all 10 toes off. 1 last inhale, relax those shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, planting the hands, stepping or hopping back, high plank. Exhale, your version, chaturanga, lower. Inhale, lift the chest, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg reaches all the way up to the sky, three-legged dog. Take it big, inhale through the nose, keeping that hip square towards the earth. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Drop that back heel down towards the floor, toe is turning inwards, heel is slightly outwards, bending into the front knee. Inhale, one breath up, warrior one. Inhale. Exhale, planting the hands down to the floor, stepping back, high plank. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky. Take a big inhale, finding the squareness of the hips. And don't collapse into the shoulders, really press the floor away. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Drop that back heel down, inhale, rising it up, Virabhadrasana one, warrior one. Energy through the arms, rooting down through the feet. Inner thighs engaged, take one last breath. Exhale, planting the hands down, stepping back, high plank. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, softly meeting back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Just taking a moment. Take one last breath. Look forward in between the hands, or step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky as you bend the knees, sink your seat. Inhale, chair pose. Really squeeze those inner thighs together. And take one last breath. Relax the jaw, relax the spaces behind the eyelids. Straighten out through the legs, gazing up. Exhale, hands back through heart center. Whew. Bit dynamic. Bending into the knees. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up, chair. One breath. Exhale, folding. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, planting the hands, stepping or hopping. High plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that right leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose and going into a bit of a flow. Step that foot all the way through in between the hands. Knee is over the ankle. Drop that back heel down. Inhale, rise it up. Warrior one. Exhale, sweep the arms out to the side. Let's go for eagle arms. So option one is taking the right arm, threading it underneath the left and going for a little bit of a hug. Option two is taking the back of the hands to touch. Maybe you take the palms of the hands to touch. Maybe you wrap all the way around. Elbows reach up towards the sky. The shoulders drop away from the ears. You bend deeply into the front knee. And imagine there's a piece of string pulling you all the way up to the sky from the crown of the head. And take one last breath. Lift the chest a little bit higher. Exhale, releasing the hands down onto the floor, stepping back high, plank. Exhale, chaturanga, going through your flow. Inhale, lift the chest, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step that foot all the way through, sneak it forward. Drop that back heel down, inhale, rise it up, warrior one. And going for our eagle arms, arms reach all the way out to the side. And let's take the left arm and thread it underneath the right arm this time, either taking that hug, going for the backs of the arms to touch, palms to touch, or all the way wrapping around. Eagle, keep spreading through the fingers, keep lifting the shoulders up towards lift the shoulders down towards the earth. Lift the elbows up, that's what you need. But breathe. Take one last breath, deeper bend into the front knee. Exhale, slowly releasing, planting the hands down onto the floor, stepping back, high plank. Inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take our knees down to the ground, let's take our toes to touch, extend the arms all the way out. Child's pose. And taking a moment here just to connect to your breath. We've moved quite dynamically through our sun salutations. So just notice if your breath has changed from the very beginning of your practice today. And slowly, whenever you're ready, whenever that is, we'll all meet back in our downward facing dog. Placing the hands down to the floor, sending the hips up to the sky. Let's go for a warrior sequence. Inhale, right leg reaches up to the sky, 3-leg dog. Bend that knee and open out through the hip. So the heel is dropping towards the left side of the mat. The right knee is lifting up to the sky. You're not collapsing into the shoulders, you're really pressing the floor away. Keep energizing through the inner arms. Take one last breath. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Drop that back heel down, rooting down from the knife edge of that back foot. Inhale, one breath up, warrior one. Big inhale. Exhale, open the hips and the shoulders towards the side. Warrior two. You might widen your stance so your heels align with each other. Extending the arms all the way out. Soften those shoulders. Gaze is forward over the front middle finger. Slight tuck of the tailbone, ribs are hugging in, that knee is opening towards the back wall back behind you. And just find the power in this pose and just allow yourself to stay in this posture just for one last breath. And then flip the front palm up to the sky. Inhale, when you're ready, reverse your warrior. Keeping the bend into the front knee, keep reaching that right arm all the way, energizing through the fingers. Exhale, slowly coming back, warrior two. Let's go for side angle, taking the elbow onto the knee or taking hand, either taking hold of the ankle or onto the floor or block. Inhale, left arm reaches up to the sky or all the way up and over by the ear. Taking 2 more breaths in this pose. And you've got this long line of energy which shoots from the heel of that back foot all the way through into the left hip, into the left fingertips. And gazing down. Inhale, start to rise all the way up to center, straighten out through that front leg. Walk the back toes in ever so slightly if you need to. Squareness of the hips towards the side, look forward. Exhale, reach out. Trikonasana. Right hand plants down, either shin, ankle, maybe it's top of the foot, big toe, floor, maybe it just hovers. Extend that left arm up to the sky. And keep creating that length in the back of the neck. And keep utilizing your oblique muscles here to sustain you in this pose. One last breath. Gazing down. Inhale, start to rise all the way back up. And flip the front palm up to the sky. Inhale, reverse your triangle. Exhale, slowly coming back to center. Hands come onto the hips. Angle the right toes inwards so we turn it to the side of the mat. And then from here, turn the toes outwards, heels slightly inwards, bending into the knees. Send the hips down towards the ground. Inhale, heart lifts up. Hands move through heart center. And breathe. I always like to hang out in this pose just for a little bit longer, so I really feel that we need it. And just imagine that you're hugging a big beach ball in between your inner thighs. You've got some engagement of those inner thighs, but that really hug inwards and that lift upwards through the centre, as if you've almost got a metal rod through your spine. Take one last breath. Inhale, straighten out through the legs. Exhale, hands come onto the hips, angle the toes inwards, heels slightly outwards. Pasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest up to the sky, squeeze the shoulder blades together, elbows come towards each other. Exhale, folding over the legs. Hands come onto the floor directly underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. And exhale, fold. It doesn't matter what this pose looks like so much, it's what it feels like. So if you really feel that the hamstrings really tight in this pose, slight bend into the knee, lengthen into the spine and exhale, fold. And take one last breath. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, walk the hands all the way over towards that right foot. Spin the right toes out, come onto the ball of that left foot. Left hand stays down, inhale, right arm reaches up, twist. And feel free to drop that back knee down onto the floor if that's what suits you at this point in the practice. If you want a little more, roll onto the outer edge of that right foot, outer edge of that left foot. Send the hips down towards the ground, maybe right arm reaches towards the wall behind you. Inhale, reach that right arm all the way back up and over by the ear or up to the sky. Feel free to stay here or go for a side plank, stacking right foot on top of the left. You might gaze to the ground, gaze to the side, or gaze all the way up to the sky. Keep hugging that right hip towards the right side of the mat. Exhale, plant the right hand down onto the floor, come back into that plank. If you're still in that lunge, just place the hands down onto the floor and step it back. High plank. Exhale, going through Vinyasa or straight back to a downward facing dog. And take a big breath in through the nose. And a big exhale, maybe out through the mouth. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale, bend that left knee and open out through the hip. Breathing that space into the left hip. Keep pressing the floor away, keep rolling those shoulders. One last breath. Exhale, rounding knees, nose, step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Drop that back heel down to the floor. Inhale, rise it up, warrior one. Strong, powerful Garudasana one. Inhale. Exhale, open it out, warrior two, maybe widening your stance. Deep bend into the front knee. Hugging those ribs in towards the center line. Gazing out over the front middle finger. And just breathe. And if you feel that the arms, it's too hard to hold the arms like this, just turn the palms up to the sky so you can release those shoulders and you're using more of the muscles of the back to really hold the arms up here. Take one last breath, maybe sinking deeper into the front knee. Flip the front palm up if it's not already. Inhale, reach the arm all the way up and back behind you, reverse warrior. And take one last breath, feeling that stretch into the side body. Exhale, slowly coming back. Warrior two, take a breath. And then exhale, elbow comes onto the knee. Inhale, right arm either up to the sky or all the way up and over by the ear. The pinky finger turns down towards the ground, so you've got this release into the shoulder. And feel free to stay here or taking the hand down onto the ankle, maybe down onto a block or onto the floor. And keep turning chest up towards the sky. One last breath. Exhale, gazing down. Inhale, rising up, warrior two. Front thigh starts to cook. Straighten out through that front leg, release. Maybe walking the back toes in ever so slightly. Gaze forward, reaching out. Left hand down, inhale, right arm reaches up. Trikonasana, triangle pose. You almost want to feel like you're wedged between two walls in this pose. So you don't want to allow that left hip to move back behind you. You want to hug everything into center line. And core and oblique muscles is really sustaining you in this pose. And it also allows you to protect the spine. Gazing down. Inhale, start to rise all the way up to center. Flip the front palm up. Inhale, reverse your triangle. You get this even deeper stretch into the side body, but again, you don't want to collapse into the posture. You still want to press into the feet. You still want to lift up and out through the waist. Exhale, slowly coming back to center. Hands come onto the hips. Angle the left toes inwards this time. And we'll turn it towards the side of the mat. And turn the toes outwards, heels slightly inwards, slight bend into the knees. And the knees are going the same direction as the ankles as you melt the hips down to the ground. Hands move through heart center. And breathe. You might close off the eyes. You want to feel fully grounded, fully rooted, fully supported in this pose. And by the ground and the breath. And fiery posture. Take one last breath. Exhale, maybe melt the hips slightly lower and then straighten out through the legs. Exhale, hands come onto the hips, angle the toes inwards, heels slightly outwards. Inhale, lift the chest up to the sky. And exhale, slowly using your core on a flat back, hinging from the hips. Wide legged forward fold. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. And exhale, folding inwards. And feel free to go for any arm variation that suits you. It might be taking two peace fingers around the big toes. It might be interlacing the fingers around the backs of the legs or the ankles. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, fold. And take one last breath. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, walk the hands all the way over to the left foot. Spin the left toes out. Bend into the left knee. Come onto the ball of that back foot. So we're in this lunge position. Keep energizing through that back, that right hip. So it's not melting down towards the ground too much. You're really lifting up, so connecting into the core. Right hand down. Inhale, left arm reaches up, twist. And feel free to stay here. You might drop the back knee down to the ground if you did it on the other side. Or roll to the outer edge of that right foot, outer edge of that left foot. Send the hips down to the ground as you reach the left arm towards the back of your mat. Inhale, slowly coming back up to center. Maybe sweeping that arm all the way up and over by the ear. Gazing down, staying here, or stepping it into a side plank. Breathe, hold, it's tricky. And firing up the core for one last breath. And planting left hand down onto the floor, framing that front foot if you've stood in that lunge. And we'll come back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Big inhale through the nose. And a big exhale out. Look forward in between the hands, stepping or hopping to the front of the mat. You might come onto the balls of the feet. Bend the knees, send the hips directly towards the heels, gaze forward, beyond the hands. Really press the hands down to the earth. You might try a hop, and it might be just a hop that looks a little bit like this. So you just lift the legs off the ground and you come back down, and that's absolutely fine. Or your hop might be you completely lift the hips. You might catch it, you might hold it, and then you lower. So wherever you are, it might be that tiny hop that you take towards the front of the mat. Then you might step forward or do another hop and slowly lower down. Wherever you are, we'll meet at the front of the mat in a standing position. Let's get into some eagle action. From here, shifting the weight into the left foot. Start to hug the right knee into the chest, stand up tall. Take one last breath, just like this, just finding your balance. And then bending into the left knee, sneak that right knee on top of the left knee and sit down as if you were sitting into a chair pose. Option one is staying here, hands through heart center. Option two is seeing if you can wrap that right leg around the left leg, double cross, keeping those hips square towards the front. And what really likes to happen, and what commonly happens, is the knees like to swing out to one side, the hips to the other. Keep everything even in space. Arms reach out to the side. Feel free to go for those eagle arms. Right arm wraps underneath left. Lift the chest. Sink the hips lower. And normally when something's happening on top and something's going on the bottom as well, you're finding balance. You might stay here or you might perch your eagle. Feel the spreading between the shoulder blades. And I always think this is why it's called eagle, because this is the beak of the eagle. Take one last breath. Slowly, if you've perched your eagle, come all the way back to center. Extend the arms. Hug that right knee into the chest, maybe keeping your eagle arms, maybe unraveling. Extend that right leg back. Warrior three. Maybe warrior three with eagle arms, or releasing those arms either to the side or out in front of you. Hold. One last breath, you've got this. Exhale, planting the hands down onto the floor. If you need blocks, please feel free to use blocks or books. Inhale, lengthen. Maybe stay here or start to fold inwards, standing split. Right leg reaches up to the sky. Maybe you take that left hand behind the left leg and take one last breath. From here, bending into the right knee, sneak it behind the left ankle and come to seated. Ooh. Feel free to extend the right leg out in front of you, taking the left foot over the right leg or bending into the right knee. And sit up tall. Left arm reaches back behind you. Inhale, right arm reaches up to the sky. And exhale, either hugging that knee into the chest or taking the right elbow outside of that leg. And twist. And if you have a bind in your practice, you might go for a bind here. And taking that right arm, threading it underneath, and either taking hold of the fingers or the wrist. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, and twist. And slowly, when you're ready, just releasing, counter-rotate it to the opposite side. And slowly coming back to center. From here, we're going to work into Gomukhasana, a seated hip stretch. Feel free to go for left leg in front of right leg and forward fold. So Sukhasana, easy seated forward fold. Or go for left knee over the right knee. And feel free, if you need to sit on a block or anything to get that extra height to lengthen into the spine, please do. I always like to shift forward. So shifting forward onto your hands and your knees and taking the ankles out to the side to create space. Send the hips down to the floor and lift the chest. And sometimes it kind of takes a few moments just to wiggle around, just to settle in. Feel free to stay upright here, or maybe hugging two peace fingers around your big toes, your index finger, your middle finger. Inhale and exhale, fold it forward. Breathe. And take one last breath. Slowly, slowly releasing. Hug the knees into the chest, give yourself a squeeze. Let's do a little bit of core. So rocking up high onto the sit bones, lifting up through the chest. Take the toes to touch. Heels squeeze together. And start to extend the legs, Navasana, boat pose. Feel free to just hang around here with the feet a few inches off the ground, or 90 degrees. You might even extend the legs all the way, keeping the bind of the legs or extending the arms all the way out. Breathe. And 2 more breaths. I know it's fiery. One last breath. Smile. Everyone always looks so serious in this pose, so don't forget to smile. Hug the knees back into the chest. Ooh, release. Cross the ankles and plant the hands either side of the hips or directly forward from the hips. See if you can lift the hips off the ground. Maybe it's just a few inches, maybe it's planting the hands down to the floor. You lift the hips, you lift the legs, you hold, lower or shoot it back. Planting the hands down, stepping back, high plank, either heading straight back to a downward facing dog or heading through a vinyasa. Lift the chest, exhale, downward facing dog. Let's get into that eagle action on the other side. So look forward in between the hands, we'll step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen it into the spine. And exhale, folding forward. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, hands back through heart center. You've got this. Just noticing maybe the right and the left side body. Maybe you feel it's a bit more open into the right hip than the left. So let's even it all out. Shift the weight into the right foot, hug left knee into the chest, stand up tall. Anchor down through that right big toe, because that's really going to help you with balance, and you might even gaze at something on the ground that's not moving. Bending into the right knee, bending into the left knee, take the left knee over the right knee, maybe sinking the hips back into that chair, hands through heart center. Breathe, embracing the wobbles. Maybe double wrapping the legs, but again, you don't want the hips to swing out to one side, knees to the other, keep everything even. Maybe staying here, or going for those eagle arms, left arm underneath right. Wrapping up, extending the arms, sending the hips lower down towards the ground. Maybe staying here or perching the eagle. And taking a breath. Slowly, if you've perched your eagle, come back to center. If you've fallen out of the pose as well, that's fine, just come back into it. Maybe rising all the way up. Keep that left knee hugged into the chest, releasing the arms or keeping the eagle arms. Extend that left leg back behind you. Arms reach forward, leg reaches back, warrior three. Take one last breath. Extending the arms out to the side. Exhale, placing the hands down onto the floor, standing split. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding it inwards. Maybe staying here or taking the right hand onto the right ankle. Inhale, and exhale, folding it inwards. Take one last breath. Bending into the right knee, bending into the left knee. Sneak the left knee behind the right. And slowly come to seated. Ooh. So we're in our twist. Right leg over the left knee. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, right arm back behind you. Inhale, left arm reaches up. Exhale, either hugging that knee into the chest, taking the elbow outside of the knee, or going for that full bind, whatever you did on the opposite side. Every inhale, you find more space and length. Every exhale, you twist, right shoulder is twisting. Take one last breath. Exhale, slowly release the pose. Counter rotate to the opposite side. And then going for the Gomukhasana pose on the other side. So you might go for Sukhasana, easy seated. Right leg in front of the left. If you did that on the other side and went for your forward fold, please do so. This time we're taking that leg over, shifting the weight forward and then sending the hips down to the ground. And taking the heels back out to the side. Interlacing fingers onto the big toes. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. You might notice that you have one side that's a lot more open than the other, so that's just something to notice. And eventually with the breath and with the regular yoga practice, we can start to bring our bodies into further balance. One last breath. Slowly rising it up to center. And we'll stay on the ground this time, so hug both knees into the chest. Extend both legs out in front of you. Flexing into the feet, slight bend into the knees. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. And exhale, folding it forward. And exhale, fold. Just taking one last breath in this Paschimottanasana, we'll really start to wind things down. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, slowly rising up to seated. And take the soles of the feet together, knees come out wide. You might go for more of a diamond shape or a full Baddha Konasana, hips towards heels. Your choice. Hands come either onto the feet or the ankles. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, folding forward. And so in those eagle postures, we really engage the inner thighs. So in this pose, we can really start to open out through the inner thighs. We can relax the shoulders. One last breath. Slowly, when you're ready, just releasing, coming back to seated. And place the soles of the feet down into the ground. Shift the hips directly towards the heels. Extend the arms all the way out. Rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. Lower back, middle back, and then upper back. Hug both knees into the chest. Give yourself a final squeeze, maybe a rock from side to side. Flexing into the feet, take the knees into the outer upper arms. And either taking hold of the soles of the feet or the backs of the knees, just rock a little from side to side. Happy baby pose. You might interlace the fingers around the big toes and extend both legs out to the side, getting another stretch on the inside of the legs. Hug both knees into the chest. Take a big inhale through the nose. Big exhale out. Just extend the right leg out. Extend the left leg out. And turn both palms up to face the sky. Shavasana. So final resting pose. Just allow the breath to soften, just allow the ground to rise up to meet you, to cradle you, to support you, and just feel fully supported by the ground. And just give yourself some gratitude for stepping onto your mats today, for nourishing your minds, your bodies, for all of your efforts, and whatever happened on the mat today. And just know that you kept a playful spirit, and just showing up is enough. Just take as long as you need in this final Shavasana. Really, don't skip your Shavasana. It is the most important posture, the whole of the yoga practice. Take 5 minutes if you have the time. I'm going to leave you here, and thank you so much for tuning in, and namaste.